Okay, welcome everyone to tonight's session. Yeah, so tonight we're going to talk about data stewardship. So throughout all these, while we've been having sessions, we'll be scratching stewardship. Steward, we hear about data steward, but we'll not really talk about it in details, but data stewardship is really deeper than just the way we scratch it. We're going to look at it very well and see what is stewardship and what is involved in data stewardship, trying to understand the framework, understand the models involved, and somehow it can be applied in different industries. Yeah, that's what we're going to do. Okay. Yeah, hopefully you can hope everyone is seeing my screen now. From my own app, you can see it's popping out. So, like I said, these are things we're going to try to understand. Stewardship and models, framework. Yeah. By the end of the day, we should be able to create a framework and understand how to use the framework to implement a model for our company. Yeah. So what is stewardship in data governance? So data stewardship is the operational responsibility for ensuring that data assets are properly managed, maintained, protected, and aligned with governance policies. So what I'm trying to make us understand here is in data governance, data stewardship is the operational aspect of data governance. Operational means when we talk about operations, we talk about day-to-day activity. So if you are working in an organization and they say you are working in operation, it means that you guys are the people that makes the company move ahead on daily basis, day-to-day activities, so operational activities. So in data governance, stewardship is the management of data on day-to-day basis coming from data governance, not coming from data analysis or data engineering, but you as a data governance professional seeing to day-to-day management of data, that the data being used, the way it's being used, the way it's being maintained is of high quality. It is within the compliance policy. It does not breach any rules and regulation. That is stewardship. So, a data steward, from stewardship, we got what we call data steward, which is now a role in data governance. So the steward maintain data quality, ensure compliance, alignment, resolve data issues. So when there is issue, is the data steward that resolve, you escalate or de-escalate, enforces standard and act as liaison between business IT, business and IT, and the data governance unit. So you are the operational wing of data governance. So if you like, you can search internet and see what is data steward and see their job roles. Okay, data owner versus data steward. So who is the data owner and the data steward? Their strategic positioning and responsibilities. So data owner is a more strategic person. So you are more like in the leadership aspect of data governance, accountable for data assets, value, and risk. You are accountable. Accountability is making sure that the data asset is of high value and you are in charge of making sure that there is no risk around the data assets or data quality, or making sure that all data is within. So you are accountable, meaning that you make sure that it's done. Then for that accountability to be carried out, somebody need to work on day-to-day basis, enforcing all the necessary activities around the data governance. And that's where the steward comes in. So the steward is operational, ensures daily data integrity and compliance. So it's like the steward is working under data owner. So just take it that way. And then data custodian, that is the technical aspect of it, implement technical safeguarding. So the custodians can see data administrators. These are the people that really they work with engineers, do all the necessary technicalities. So the steward here is the operational angle, monitoring, making sure that day to day, all the data that are being used is of high quality and compliance. So owners decide what needs to be done. Custodian steward enforces, and then custodian implements. You see where all these, where they come in, so you know where you belong. You can get job in any of this capacity. You can get a job as a data owner, although that's not gonna be automatic. You need to grow, you need to show experience. You can't just start becoming an owner. So you need to start from like stewardship before you can have experience of becoming an owner. Okay, even in that stewardship, we have different type of data steward. So we have business data steward. Business data steward, their responsibilities is to define the data meaning, maintain glossaries, and ensure business rules compliance. So it's within the business aspect, maintaining data usage, data compliance within the call it development business environment. Business environment, making sure that day-to-day activities in the business environment, that is where the business data stewards comes in. more especially at the front end, customer facing, a bit of a customer facing role when it comes to Lady Charity. Please, we know that you've arrived. Put yourself on mute. Okay, then we have technical data steward. Technical maintains data structure, like we say, technicality, the enforcement, building it, the framework, the tools used in data. So they are more like technical aspect, not front end. Maintain data structure, ensure data flow correctly, and oversee system integration. So these people mainly work with data engineers. They are not data engineers. They are stewards, but they work with data engineers. They enforce all the integration. Kind of their duty is on data communication. Data communication means data flow from one system to another system. Data continuously keep flowing. If your data is not flowing from one system, then you are not making the best use of your data. When different sectors, different organizations, different departments is assessing the data is flowing and there is no hitches, very smoothly flowing, then you know that, yeah, your business is flowing. As we are here now, once you start a company here in UK, you have to set like payroll with HMR revenue. You see your data will start flowing from your company to government portal, from government portal to accounting software. You see, you have three areas now the data is circulating. From your portal to government portal, from government portal to, that is it. Data must be able to flow around. It might require some level of integration. So you must be able to work with data engineers to get that done. And then we'll have operational data steward. Operation here, you monitor key performance indicators, manages issue resolution, track data error. So like we said earlier that mainly steward is mainly operationals. So day to day, looking for any flag off. If there's any flag off, there's data is not consistent, there is a breach of trust, there's a breach of these regulations, you are the one that go ahead and manage the issue resolution, try to resolve it, looking out for risk. As a matter of fact, you become the risk manager in charge of data management. So you track all the data errors. So that's what you do here. That's your operationals. And then compliance through data protection steward. And here is a steward that monitors the privacy risk. When we're creating framework about every data, the risk associated with them, we decide their level of risk, their level of privacy. You remember when we dealt with metadata. With metadata, every data will decide how sensitive, how kind of sensitivity of the data, how risky, risk level, and with that, you know whom the kind of steward to assign, and that's the one. Every data, you know how risky they are. There's privacy risk, other risks. So you are in charge of that environment team. Talk about privacy, regulations, that is your area. We have so many regulatory areas. In UK, most prominent in UK, in Europe, the most prominent is the GDPR. We have other data protections act, but that GDPR, a lot has been weaved around the GDPR. So ensure regulatory alignment. If you breach regulatory laws, there are fine. I think the last time, I think, is it £10,000 for any small breach? Well, it depends on the kind of breach. The least amount you can pay for data breach is £10,000. The least amount. Well, it depends on the kind of breach. We talk about breach by some top banks like Monzo and even Facebook, how much their breach were running into millions. So we'll talk about breaches and make sure that we don't find ourselves in such situation. Who does that is the data compliance protection steward. Maintain all this documentation. So I know you see all these 3 types of steward. I mean 4 types of steward. It do only happen for big companies. Only happen for big companies. That's where they can have division of labor and have different types of data steward office working. But in the real world, you are a data. Once you're a data steward, you are going to be doing. Most companies are going to be doing everything stated here. You are going to act as a business data steward. You are going to act as a technical data steward. You are going to act as operational and compliance and protection. Everything about data protection and stewardship lies on your laps. So in most cases. So now we have understand what data steward, different types of steward. And it's time to talk about stewardship governance framework. So this stewardship, how do we implement a governance framework? How do we try to make sure that we implement and assign and make that stewardship work? Having a good framework. Everything here mainly what we are doing here is regulatory and policies. We are kind of policy makers within the data. So the framework, stewardship framework is a structural set of policies, rules, processes, and governance and mechanism that ensures organization data are accurate, consistent, and properly managed throughout the life cycle. Once you come up with a very good framework, it's going to help make sure that the data steward do their job very well, understand what they mean to do, and what is obtainable within the industry they are working. So that is why the framework is very good. It defines who is responsible for managing data, how data quality is maintained, and how government policies are implemented operationally around data. So it acts as the operational arm of data governance, operational arms, ensuring data governance rules are applied in day-to-day data management activities. And the key objective of this framework is to improve data quality and reliability, establish clear data ownership and accountability, ensure regulatory compliance, enable trusted analytics and AI, and support efficient data across systems. So let's look at this compliance. For you to have a very solid data stewardship framework, you need to tackle or build it within 11 components. All these 11 components has to be treated within your compliance documentation. If you are building a data stewardship framework, which is a set of documents, is going to be a source of truth for that data governance, data management. You need to come under 11 components here. The first one is you must define data stewardship vision and objective. So the vision, what is the purpose of this data stewardship framework? These are things that need to be done. Establishing the purpose and goals of stewardship program. Identify how stewardship will support data quality, regulatory compliance, business decision making, and analytics and AI initiative. So this is the first thing to do, to define the vision and objective. Once the vision and objective is drawn, then the second one is to create a data stewardship charter. You need to create a charter. The data stewardship charter is the formal document that authorizes the stewardship program. If you have been in my project management class, I always encourage project managers to have project charter. It's extremely important. It authorizes the project managers to lead that project. If anything happens and you are not authorized, don't have a project charter that authorizes you, it's not going to be funny for you. It's the same thing within the data steward. Some people might not do that thoroughly, but it's good you learn how to do things thoroughly here. If you follow these 11 components here, that for me is thorough enough. So you must have a charter. Whenever we talk about charter, I want you to talk about authority. Charter is authorization. Anything charter is authorizing, giving you power. So this charter authorizes stewardship program. Even if you are hiring a data steward or doing it, this charter has given you authority to do anything that you need to do. So it outlines the scope of stewardship, responsibilities of data stewards, governance authority, guiding principle. This is what is going to list. So the charter ensures organizational commitment and accountability. We are going to build a framework. So don't worry about this. We're not being the tool. When we're going to build a framework, you will see we're going to capture it component by component. But let us try to understand what each component stands for. Then Identify key domains. Data stewardship is organized around data domain, which groups related data assets. So it groups data under different categories. Example, we have customer data. Some can be grouped under customer data is a domain. And then we have product domain is a product data, that's domain. We can have patient, that's a domain. We can have financial. Looking at it here, you see these are different domains. Some of like you see patients you already know is from healthcare. And when you see financial, you know that not only necessary bank, but maybe from finance department or things like that. So each domain assign data owner and data steward responsible for maintaining its quality. So if we have different steward working on different domain, for instance, here we say charity is in charge of customer data as a steward, and Tunde here is in charge of product. If anything happened to customer data, we are not going to go and start holding Tunde responsible because he's a steward. If anything happened to product data, then Tunde will be liable for that. So that's what it means. So, but in most cases, you have to pay attention because you find out that you are everything. In most cases, they want to use you to do everything because they want to save costs. They don't want to come here and hire 4 data steward. They want you to do everything for them. So, number 4 in the governance framework, data steward governance framework, the 4th component here is define the governance structure. So this step establish hierarchy structure of data governance role. Typical structure we have data governance council. Yes, a kind of the unit or kind of the board that take decision on whatever happens, and then every other person can within the can be under that board. It's like a board, a council, like a board or a unit or a department. And then we'll have the chief data officer. It's always in charge, like the head of the unit. And we'll have data owners. We'll have steward and we'll have custodian. So in hierarchy, you see data custodians are the least in hierarchy, followed by steward and then data owners are. So this is it. So as we are coming out, we might find ourselves within this, within data steward, even custodian, whichever way, they are still high paid. So number 5 component is to establish data stewardship process. What are the process of data stewardship? So these are the operational workflow. You need to create a workflow, kind of process flow, or process map of the stewardship to see how it's going to be managed. So the processes include data quality monitoring, metadata management, data classification, issue resolution, and policy enforcement. So all these processes, we've handled all of them. I don't think you say you don't know what data quality is, or metadata, or data classification, or issue resolution. So we've handled them. So Everything you are going to do as a steward is something we have already spoken about. So this process ensures stewardship operate consistently across the organization. Then number 6, define data quality management. So the data steward monitor and improve data quality dimension, which includes accuracy, completeness, consistency, timeliness, and validity. So as a data steward, you should know when a data is accurate. You should know when a data is complete. You should know when a data is consistent or inconsistent. If it's inconsistent, then you must know when to flag it off. And there should be a way to flag off, either by a trigger, an automated trigger. Either when the data is not complete, automated trigger. When data is not accurate, automated trigger. When data is not timely, automated trigger and valid. So you must know all these very well. We've talked about data quality, so we should know that very well. It's part of the data stewardship, part of the things you do as a steward. So when there is an inconsistent data at the trigger, and you should know how to resolve this issue resolution, which we'll talk about. So they implement data quality rules and KPI to maintain reliable data sets. And number 7, implement metadata management. We already talked about metadata management. So we should be able to carry out these ones. So it's part of the stewardship. Metadata management ensures that data definitions, lineage, and documentations are maintained. They include maintaining business glossaries, documenting data lineage, classifying data sets, and maintaining data catalog. We know how to do this already. So that's why you see that our lesson is a bit sequential. You don't need to miss anyone. Try anyone you miss, try to catch up. Because some of you, if you have missed any of these lessons and they didn't catch up, when you are talking about maintaining data catalog, you say, which one is maintaining data? When did we do that? But we did it last time. That's the last thing we did. And this improves data discoverability and understanding. So, and the 8th component within the governance framework is to define data access governance. We've talked about data access. If you remember very well, it's part of the first thing we did. So data access here, we have to define who have access, the level of access. Everybody working on data, our data set must have level of access. So typically we talk about role-based access control, access approval workflow, data masking, and security monitoring. So access governance protects sensitive and confidential data sets. And 9, we have issue management and escalation. So when there is issue, what is the resolution and escalation process? So data steward must resolve data quality issue and governance incidents. The framework defines the issue reporting procedure, investigation processes, and escalation paths. So this ensures problems are resolved quickly and systematically. And then monitoring and reporting. The stewardship effectiveness must be measured through governance metrics and reporting dashboard. So looking at the dashboard or metrics, we should know when there is a flag off. There is inconsistency. If you look at look at the dashboard, you see flag off. Like if this flag, the dashboard is built in such a way when there is inconsistency, there should be a red flag. When everything is okay, then all the data should be possessing green flags or green colors. So if in the dashboard, you look at dashboard and you see a lot of red colors or red flags, or in dashboard you see maybe if there is risk, it becomes amber, everything is amber, then you have to sit up. So there must be monitoring and reporting. So the governance and you should be able to liaise very well with engineers to design a very beautiful dashboard. They can do that very well using Power BI and the rest of them. So, but there must be a monitoring and reporting metrics and dashboard. And number 11, which is the last but not the least, is that there must be a data stewardship RACI metrics. How many of you here know what RACI metrics is? We sing about RACI metrics all the time in our project management class. So it's equally applied here. So RACI metrics clarifies who is responsible for each governance activity. So when after designing everything, don't forget to have a RACI matrix, which we see no finger pointing. Everybody is documented what everybody does. You know what you are here to do. There must be a RACI matrix. Responsibility here means who performs the tasks. Everybody knows what they are performing. Accountability owns the outcome. We've talked about it. Consultant, who provides the input and inform who is kept updated about what's going on within the health of our data. So that's it. And the summary table of a data stewardship framework, you see it here. If you have it like this, it already help you to know what to do. So yeah, so each component is telling you the purpose of that component, and that's what we just concluded now. So this is a summary table, a snapshot. Okay, within the stewardship, how this is no longer within the framework, we've captured 11 things you need to do well. So we already talked about core stewardship functions and responsibilities, which is covered in we should be covered in the RACI metrics. Everybody knows their responsibilities. So we should be able to have a good work breakdown structure as well. Regulatory importance, the stewardship, these are make sure that there is retention, right to erasure. We already captured all these things. Stewardship and AI governance. Yeah, I'll talk about AI governance a lot. So it's part of the stewardship. Core stewardship models. So this is what we need to focus on now. All these other areas will capture everything. So what we need to look at is the models. Once there is a framework, the framework then helps us to build a model. Yeah. So the models, the kind of organization and the kind of data we are managing or we are securing will determine the kind of model we are going to use. So we have these three types of models here. We have centralized data model. Centralized. I'm going to highlight it because this data model is important. Centralized. Decentralized. We have decentralized, and we have federated, which is mostly used. So once we have a good data stewardship framework, the framework is a document, authority that decide how the stewardship is going to be. Once we have it, it should give us a clue on how we are going to build our model. Model is like a tool through which we manage data as a steward. So we have centralized model. Centralized model captures the governance authority in centralized place. Stewardship operates under a centralized governance office, and it's of high consistency across enterprise. So it's kind of a central, data is in a central environment and being distributed from the center. It's built for high regulated industries, smaller organizations, and top-down structure. So it means that data cannot be distributed. Everyone having data must connect to the center. Everything must be connected to the center, not distributed. So that is it. Like highly regulated industry, I will, for instance, let's see bank. Now, if you have a bank account, your bank is stored in the head office. Your details, even if it's captured within it should be stored. Well, so that's why you should be able to access your bank details within any branch. So risk level may slow innovation if overly rigid. So it's mainly centralized. So many portals now is centralized. Like for instance, national ID is centralized. In this country, most things in this country is centralized from one single source. So we have decentralized. Centralized is business unit manage their own data steward, and local accountability and faster decision making. So we have data steward across different places, not managing the data from the center. So wherever you are, you manage your data steward within your decentralized area. And it's built for large, diverse enterprise, global organization. Yeah, like for instance, let's say, what are companies that have that kind of globalized? Yeah, let's say a product like Coca-Cola. Okay, a very good example. Coca-Cola is global. It's almost every country of the world. So it can be that way that every country will have their own data stewardship. Every country, but at the end of the day, it belongs to Coca-Cola is Coca-Cola Global, something like that. Risk inconsistency standard, because of different countries might have a bit of their small pockets of data regulation, compliance, and the acts. Although we have global data regulations, but some countries have their small pockets of local regulation that might affect you to start tweaking your data governance compliance to meet all the local regulatory acts. Federated stewardship. Here is central government set policies. Business unit execute stewardship. Shared accountability structure. This is based on matured enterprise, multi-division organization. Yeah, many cases, businesses with multi-branches can decide to use it. For instance, here in the UK, where we have, although some of them have a lot of franchise as well. So have like KFC is scattered all over the country. So something like that, we'll have multi-divisions organization, something like that. Am I say, okay, this is the standard. Even if you are using our franchise, you must abide by this standard. You know, everybody, because a lot of franchise here, but the franchise is, you must maintain a standard. You use our name to do your business. Use our everything will give you standard. You are on your own, but you must comply with the whole standard. So this could be something, because so many companies these days are operating under this kind of franchise, like here in UK, you see KFC, you see McDonald's, you see so many of them. They are all franchise, not one person that owns all of them, but they must maintain a standard. So that is federated stewardship model. Okay. A real world example, like where a stewardship should be applied. A global retailer experiences inconsistency in data description across region. The problem here is duplicate SKUs, conflicting product classification, reporting inconsistencies. So it's all about data duplicates, data inconsistencies. That's what they are facing. And the impact, revenue misstatement. When there is inconsistency, reporting wrong figures, then you might report inconsistent revenue. You might be reporting that your company has made a huge profit, not knowing that they did not make the amount of profit. You might report that the company is not doing well, not know you are reportful. When there is inconsistency, is have likelihood to affect all reports, including revenue statements, poor customer experience, compliance risk. These are the kind of things companies are going to face when there is poor stewardship. And when implemented a very good stewardship, you see here what is implemented here is implemented a federated stewardship model, assign regional product data steward, establish global data standard, and then monthly governance council review. That's the solution here. You see the model there, almost looking at everything we've done here. You see they are picking it. And the result is that they get their data integrity, data quality back on track, standardize product data, improve reporting accuracy, and reduce compliance risk. So this is what you should be. Once you are being brought in a situation where this kind of problem and you implement this kind of solution, then you are going to get this kind of results. So this is why they are looking for you, to be solving this kind of problems, bringing in this kind of solution, and bringing in this kind of results. So in your CV, you should be able to show what you've done. When you are showing your CV, you should be able to show this is the problem this company is having. When I was hired as a data governance steward officer, when I came in, yeah, this is the problem and this is the impact of this problem. I brought in this solution, and after this solution, I got this result. This is how your CV should look like. We call it stars. That is, this problem, if we apply star here, we'll see a problem here will become a situation, and here becomes the task, and the solution and the results. So with this kind of, if you can demonstrate this kind of activity in your CV, then that is what the companies are going to be bargaining for you. They are going to bargain. They are going to want to hire you because you can display this kind of a problem like this after handling it. They are not going to hire you because you tell them that you understand what is standard product data or improved accuracy. You must show this kind of solving problem in real time for organization. So, data stewardship model. Now, we've seen stewardship framework. Framework and model. So we create framework and model. So what we are going to do here is we are going to create, using this activity, design a data stewardship framework and model for a multi-national bank, a health care network, and an AI startup. So we're going to create a generic, I'm not going to create one by one framework. We're going to create a generic framework that can serve these three organizations or these three industries. And then we should be able to then create singular framework. So now this is the stewardship framework. We're going to first define the data stewardship vision and objective, just like we stated above. Try to create the vision statement. Here, core objective here is to ensure high quality trusted data, maintain consistent definition and standard, support regulatory compliance, improve data usability for analytics and AI, and assign clear ownership and accountability. Example of objectives by industry. For bank, the stewardship goal is to maintain accurate financial and customer data for regulatory reporting. For healthcare, ensure patient records are accurate and secure. For AI, to maintain reliable training data set for AI model. So now you see you've created the vision and objective section of your framework. If you come down here, you create a charter. So to create a charter, the data stewardship charter, the purpose here, the data stewardship program establish governance processes and accountability structure to ensure that organizational data is accurate, secure, compliant, and usable for business operations and analytics. Remember that in the charter, you need to talk about the purpose of the charter and the scope. So, under the scope, the stewardship program covers master data, reference data, metadata, sensitive data, analytics data sets. These are what it covers. And the guiding principle, data is strategic organizational assets. Data must be accurate and consistent and secure. Data ownership must be clearly defined. Data governance decision must be transparent. Data quality issue must be actively managed. And then under data stewardship accountability, define the data standard, monitor data quality, maintain metadata, enforce data classification policy, and coordinate issue resolution. So this is the responsibilities of data stewardship. And then governance oversight. The governance oversight, the stewardship activities are overseen by the governance council, led by the chief data officer. Yeah, you see, you have created a data stewardship charter for this organization. And then identify key domains. So under the domains, based on different industry, you see bank, their domain here is customer, account, and transaction and risk. And under healthcare, we have patient, provider, treatment, and billing. Under AI, we have training data, model, user data, and experiment. Yeah. So these are different domains captured and define governance structure. So under governance structure, hierarchy, we see typical governance structure here. The number one is the executive council, which we already mentioned. And then we have chief data officer. And then we have domain data owner. That's data owner. And we have data steward. And then we have operational data custodian. Yeah. And then we say roles. Role definition. So we discuss every role. So we say that the data owner is accountable for data domain, data steward responsible for data quality and governance, data custodian manage technical infrastructure, data consumer user data for business or analytics, and compliance officer ensure regulatory adherence. So you've define each of the roles and then establish stewardship process. So under the process, you stated it here, you stated it here, one after one, sequentially, starting data quality monitoring, metadata management, data classification, issue management, data access governance, and policy enforcement. And we'll have the example here. So under the workflow, data issue identified, reported to data steward, and then root cause investigation, that's root cause analysis, correction implemented, and quality monitoring updated. So that is it. And then define data quality management process. So decide what data quality management is. You can't just see data is quality. So under here, you see data dimension. We'll talk about accuracy, completeness, consistency, timeliness, and validity. So we see metrics here. Duplicate customer record must be less than 1%. Missing critical must be less than 2%. Data correction turnaround time must be within 24 hours. Can be more than 24 hours. So that is KPI. So that is the standard. Then implement metadata management. Data steward management metadata through business glossary, data definition, data lineage, and data set classification. Say that metadata is stored in a data catalog. So that is a standard. You must build a catalog and store it there. That's how you manage all the data. And then define access. Define data access. So the steward ensure data is accessed appropriately through this access control. The access control involves is role-based access control, access approval workflow, data masking and audit log, and issue management and escalation. Data steward must handle data incidents, and you must handle it through this escalation path. First, issue identified, it now move to data steward. And then, so if the steward cannot handle it, then the steward will escalate it to data owner. If the situation or the issue is beyond the control of the data owner, then the data owner will escalate it to the Data Governance Council. So that is the issue management and escalation part. And then monitoring and reporting. Under monitoring and reporting, reporting through metrics. So KPI, we are monitoring data quality score. And the purpose is to make sure there is measure in reliability, to measure how reliable it is. Number of issues, that's what should be reporting. In the reporting dashboard, we should be able to look at the dashboard and see how many issues we have. This will help us to track the health of our data set, how healthy the organizational data is looking. At a glance, we should know how healthy. I've already spoke about it, where if we have red flag of everywhere, or we have green, look at our dashboard, we see everything is green, then that should be a way. But if we see that we have almost 10 issues, red, everything red, then we should be able to know there is a situation. Then, still under the KPI, data access violation. If there is a violation in data access, we should be able to know how it's violated. Like today, throughout the weekend, I've been trying to log into UK company house portal. There's some modification I want to do in some of our companies. Throughout since Thursday, I've been trying to log in and I've not been able to get access. So today I managed to log in yesterday and do what I wanted to do. But today, they tendered apology. According to them, while their portal has not been accessible because there is a violation, kind of a hack. Somebody gained entry into the UK company house portal and into some company and changed some key details of the companies, and that's a big breach, So their chief security, cyber security, and the data chief information officer tendered apology online. That's a big issue. I'm just praying he's not going to lose his job, because it's a very big breach. So that is, was data access. In data governance, we call that situation data access violation. Somebody who do not have access, authorization to log in and start playing around with the company's data is a big violation. So in the metric, we should be able to see if there is a violation to monitor security. And again, under our metric, we should be able to see metadata completeness, track documentation coverage. So monitoring and reporting, this is the kind of thing we should be able to see. And then I told you that you must still create, at the end of the day, you must create a racing metrics. Racing metrics would look like this. Yeah. So you create all the activities and the roles. You see here, this is activities. Under the activities, you have define data standard, monitor data quality, maintain metadata, approve data access, resolve data issue, compliance monitoring. These are all activities that need to be done within the data stewardship. So under this, we have people that are going to do it. And then we have data owner, we have data steward, we have IT custodian, we have compliance, and we have business users. So under RACI, R here is responsible. I want you to see that R here is responsible. Means the person that is responsible to do the task. A is accountable. We already know what's accountable. I'll talk about C is consulted and informed. So data owner here define data standard. Who is accountable? The data owner is accountable. Then we'll see under define data standard is the responsible of data steward to do. So it means the data steward is actually doing this, defining the data standard. But the data owner makes sure that it's done. And while trying to define standard, IT custodians should be consulted. They make inputs. Compliance make input. They are consulted. Then business user, they don't need to do anything. They are just there to be informed. The data standard for managing their data within the organization. And then monitor quality. The data owner here consulted, and data steward responsible, consulted, informed. Then this one, maintain data, consulted, responsible, consulted, informed. Approve data access. Data owner is accountable. Data steward is consulted. IT custodian responsible. Compliance consulted. Business user informed. Resolve data issue. Data owner should be consulted. Is the duty of data steward. And IT custodian consulted. Compliance consulted. And business user informed. Compliance monitoring, consulted, responsible if this is compliance, and business user informed. So in RACI metrics will help to see that if anything happens, we know who is responsible and who is to be consulted and who is just to be informed and who is accountable. That's the purpose of RACI. So it's not a compulsory, but it's very important to capture RACI for clarity, the purpose of clarity, that people will know what they are here for. Yeah. And then implementation roadmap. Phase 1, foundation establish. Stewardship charter, identify domain, assign owner and steward. Then phase 2, governance deployment, implement stewardship process, launch metadata management, and define data quality KPI. And phase 3, operational stewardship, monitor data quality, resolve data issue, and conduct governance audit. So, yeah, you see with this, you've completed your framework. The framework is now executed. Yeah, so with this framework, you can now build a model. You can now build your model. So a data stewardship model defines how stewardship is structured and executed and embedded into daily operation. So we're going to use like 3 industries we've captured earlier. You see, this is building a model for them, for this bank here. For this bank, so we use federated data stewardship model. So here is federated stewardship model. This model is common in global bank, where different region and business units manage their own data, but follows central government or central governance standard. Organizational structure: Global Data Governance Council, and we'll have chief data officer. We'll have global data domain owner, and then we'll have regional data steward, and then we'll have operational data custodian. So because this is a global bank, like for instance, the kind of bank that should have this kind of stewardship is a bank like Monzo Bank, not Monzo, Revolut. Revolut. Because Revolut is a bank that it has so many branches in different countries of the world, not only Europe, it's scattered. Revolut is big now, very big. One of the biggest and fastest growing bank now. Yeah. So this is the kind of bank who have this kind of stewardship model. Stewardship domain. So under this stewardship domain, we capture different domains here where we'll have customer data, financial account, transaction data, risk and compliance data, and regulatory reporting. And the example of each domain, for instance, customer will have customer profile and the KYC. Under financial account, have account balances, transaction data, payment and transfer, risk and compliance data, AML monitoring, and the reporting. AML is anti-money laundering reporting monitoring, and regulatory reporting data. We have capital adequacy reporting. And responsibilities, creating responsibilities here, we have global data owner and what they do. They define data standard, approve data definition, ensure regulatory compliance. We have regional data steward, monitor data quality, resolve data issue, and manage metadata. IT custodian, maintain database and implement security control and ensure system availability. And then stewardship workflow. The workflow is from data quality issue detected. When there is a situation, is then has to be investigated by the regional data stewardship. That is regional data steward, and The steward will carry out correction, necessary correction, and escalate if the person could not handle, if couldn't carry out the correction, necessary correction, it will be escalated to global data owner. If there is any, if the global data owner cannot, then it has to be escalated to the governing council. That's how it should be. And risk consideration, inconsistent customer identity across region, regulatory reporting error, cross-border data governance challenges, duplicate master data record. So banks must maintain strong governance due to regulation within the industry, have a serious regulation. So then we look at health care network, how we can apply the framework we've just developed above. Under the healthcare, so we are going to look at the model. The model here is domain-based stewardship, and this healthcare network typically organized stewardship around clinical domain, and governance structure is going to be head care data governance board to chief medical information officer to domain data owners for patient clinical and billing, and clinical data steward, and then to IT, health IT custodian. And stewardship domain will have patient data, clinical data, laboratory data, imagery data, and billing data. And with their relevant example of data like patient data, demographic and identity, clinical data, diagnosis and treatment, laboratory data, lab test results, image data, radiography image, billing data, insurance claim. And then under stewardship responsibilities, we'll have domain data owners that defines data policy and approve data sharing. And under clinical data, steward will have monitor patient data accuracy, ensure metadata documentation, and resolve record inconsistency. And for health IT custodian, maintains EHR system, manage system integration, and if there is issue, this is stewardship workflow. For instance, patient data issue identified, then it has to be reported to the clinical data stewardship for review and the correction via EHR system, and then audit trial log. Risk consideration, incorrect patient identity matching, duplicate data record, medical data privacy breach, and inaccurate treatment record. And then AI startup central data stewardship model. Under here, we'll have centralized stewardship model. So the startup often adopts centralized model because teams are small and data infrastructure is evolving. So governance structure, we have chief AI officer and CTO. And then we have central data governance lead, we have AI data steward, and we have data engineers, and we'll have AI research and developers, and domain, stewardship domain, where they should be at the data they are governing and working around, training data for AI model training database, data sets, model metadata for model parameter, and for model parameter, user data for application, user data, experiment data for AI model experiments, feature store data for machine learning features. So responsibilities, data steward responsibilities, data governance lead, define AI governance policy, monitor data set quality, AI data steward validate training data, document metadata, and monitor bias risk. For data engineers, maintain data pipeline and implement data validation rule. So the stewardship flow, when there is issue, here data set created and then move them to data steward for validation, and then bias and quality check and approve for model training. Risk consideration in this area is bias, training data sets, poor data labeling, data leakage in AI model, and privacy violation. And then comparison of data stewardship model. Here we have for multinational bank, we use federated, reason, global operation, and regulatory complexity. Then for healthcare network, we use domain-based for clinical specialization. For AI startup, we use centralized stewardship model for small team and evolving infrastructure. And then visualization. So we've come to the end of data stewardship model. So we see what we do. We use the framework we created to create a model, to enforce a model, and then kind of visualization, visual data governance and stewardship master diagram that integrates looking at all the things we've done, how they all work together, data lifecycle, data quality framework, master data management, metadata governance, data catalog, and data steward. So we capture it in this diagram. So in this diagram here, you see this is what we'll be doing. This is data lifecycle management. This is data quality framework. This is master data management. This is meta data governance. This is data catalog. This is data governance and stewardship. So I want you to, with this diagram, we should be able to know how all this, our journey, how far we've come. And then this is data stewardship. So you know that here, you see the stewardship in charge of this data governance and stewardship. And data governance and stewardship is all about data lifecycle, metadata, data quality framework, master data management, and data catalog. So I hope this makes sense. So this is the compliance, security, analytics. So this is the data stewardship. Yeah, so that is what it is. And this will help to give you more understanding where everything we are doing, where we are, and where you are as a data steward officer, or so that is it. And this is the explanation of the diagram. Yeah. 6 core governance, data lifecycle, data quality framework, data management, metadata governance, data catalog, and data stewardship. So this is what we have been doing since we started. Kind of summarized everything with this diagram, and we take away here. So this diagram summarizes everything we have been doing since we started this training. So yeah, I think this is a milestone for us, having reached this. So we should be able to talk about data governance professional at this point. You can't say you are still a new person or you don't understand. This will give you general snapshots of what. If you do not understand all this, then you know that you need to go back and start watching and reading. Yeah. So any question? You have any? Yeah. Sorry, we stayed, but we needed to finish what we have. Any question? Any question? All right.